Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Thank you for your awesome support on Patreon, Luke's favourite fan, the one, the only, the awesome Bubba. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Start of the Week Mecha News. I'm Luke Owen. Happy Monday, everyone! And why not celebrate the start of a brand new week by clicking the thumbs up button and leaving a comment down below to answer today's question of today. What wrestling did you watch over the weekend? For me, the answer was none, because I binged the entire first season of Living With Yourself on Netflix. Because I need so much Paul Rudd in my life, I want a show that has two of him. And make sure you give this channel a subscribe and help us battle the ever-changing YouTube algorithm. We've heard from many members of the SWAF Nation that YouTube has randomly unsubbed them from this channel, so make sure you are subscribed and enable the bell icon to get notifications when our videos go live. We've got a packed show of news for you today, including New Japan's expansion into the US, SmackDown on Fox rating woes, and our Randy Orton, The Revival, Luke Harper, and more jumping ship to AEW. You can click the timestamps down below to jump to any of those new stories right now. But first, yes folks, it's Monday, so you know what that means. It's the start of another week of wrestling. We've got Raw tonight, the debut of Impact on Access tomorrow, as well as AEW Dark and NWA Power on YouTube. Wednesday, we'll see AEW Dynamite on TNT, NXT on USA Network, and NXT UK on the WWE Network, and another SmackDown will air on Fox on Friday night. Some might say there's almost too much wrestling. But we say there isn't enough, because this coming weekend sees Ring of Honor head on over to the United Kingdom shores for Honor United, including this Friday here in London, which will see a six-man scramble including Rampage Brown, Matt Taven, Dalton Castle, and more. And WrestleTalk favourite Joe Hendry will challenge fellow WrestleTalk favourite and king of beer pong Shane Taylor for the ROH TV Championship. Not only that, but Ollie Davis, El Fagador, Laurie Blake, Chopper Pete, and that dastardly heel Randy Andy Datson will be there live in person, so stop by and say hello to all of those handsome bastards. I sadly won't be there because I'll be on a plane to Japan. Speaking of Japan, last week it was reported that WWE essentially failed in their plans to launch NXT Japan, which would have seen them purchase Stardom and Pro Wrestling Noah, which would have been the base for their men's and women's divisions. Instead, the parent company that owns New Japan purchased Stardom, and WWE's offer to buy Noah was turned down. But while WWE are failure to launch in Japan, although reports suggest they are in negotiations to purchase other Japanese promotions, New Japan Pro Wrestling are getting ready to expand further into the United States. At a press conference held today, New Japan announced New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, which will likely double the amount of shows NJPW run in America in 2020. CEO Takami Ibari didn't mention a TV deal expansion from their current one on Access, noting that Americans consume content digitally as opposed to through TV. With that in mind, Ibari said the plan will be to broadcast American events live on New Japan World wherever possible. Where that isn't feasible, they will be available VOD on delay. It was also announced that these US tours will not affect the Japanese ones. Now, this throws up questions about New Japan's relationship with American companies like Ring of Honor and AEW. New Japan have a long-standing relationship with ROH, including their dual-run show at Madison Square Garden earlier this year. But Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted on Twitter recently that New Japan are currently not happy with Ring of Honor. And this US expansion also likely squashes any potential plans AEW had to work with New Japan. Kenny Omega has said publicly that he wants to build bridges with the promotion, as one of their top stars in Jon Moxley is still under contract with New Japan until Wrestle Kingdom next year. So if there was a company that New Japan could work with, it's probably Impact Wrestling, considering that Impact's parent company Anthem owns the TV station that New Japan airs on in the United States. However, in reference to Access, Obari interestingly noted, "We have worked well with Access TV and will continue to do so in the foreseeable future. Other partnerships may be something we can discuss and consider as we move forward." Speaking of Impact Wrestling, and the company held their annual Bound for Glory event last night, which was quite newsworthy. We're about to dive into spoilers for Bound for Glory, so if you do want to avoid them, I suggest skipping ahead to the timestamp that's on screen right now. We're about to head into the spoiler room brawl in 3, 2, 1. One of the big surprises of the night was former AEW star Kylie Ray appearing in the Call Your Shot Battle Royal, where the winner got to challenge for a championship of their choice. Ray came out at number 17 and was eventually eliminated by Mahabali Shera. Figure 4 Online has reported that Kylie Ray's status with Impact Wrestling is currently unknown. She appeared on the Bound for Glory pre-show on Saturday night, but that was figured to be a one-night-only deal. Kylie Ray was set to be one of AEW's big female stars alongside Nyla Rose and Dr. Britt Baker, but went silent on social media after Double or Nothing. Tony Khan revealed following All Out that Ray had asked for her release, which was granted. Someone else who made their debut at Bound for Glory, or rather re-debut, was Joey Ryan, and his position with Impact Wrestling is more concrete. Jim Cornette's favorite wrestler made headlines fairly recently when it was reported that he was made offers by both WWE and AEW to join their rosters. WWE's offer would have seen Ryan head to NXT for a couple of years before becoming a trainer, while there were no details on what he would have done in All Elite Wrestling. Instead, Ryan announced that he was staying independent, and his signing with Impact Wrestling isn't stopping that. With Ryan tweeting, "It made the most sense. Impact Wrestling has been the most consistent wrestling program on TV for the past 2 years. I get to keep all my indie dates, and best of all, they let me be me." Elsewhere on Bound for Glory, fellow new signee AC Romero was unsuccessful in capturing the X Division Championship, which was won by Ace Austin in a surprising win, as many figured it would be round the waist of Tessa Blanchard to further her feud with Sami Callihan and OVE. Speaking of WrestleTalk favorite Callihan, and he was also unsuccessful in capturing the Impact World Championship from Brian Cage. Maybe you'll have better luck against that punk Simon Miller, Sammy. We've got your back. On Saturday, Impact Wrestling announced that it was bringing back the TNA for a one-night special over WrestleMania weekend. One person very excited about all of this was Ethan Page, who tweeted his giddiness over the return of the TNA branding, which was interestingly replied to by AEW's Matt Jackson with a picture of the Young Bucks when they were in TNA as Generation Me. Seeing an opportunity to build some bridges, Impact Wrestling Scott D'Amore replied to Jackson saying, "Let's do it!" As Tommy Dreamer would say, no politics, no BS, just wrestling. Wonder what Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are up to. Generation Me versus the Motor City Machine Guns. What do you say, Matt and Nick Jackson? Are you ready to cross the line? It's almost as if Impact Wrestling want us to plug our Patreon-exclusive podcast, where Ollie and I review Bound for Glory 2010, which features a match between the Young Bucks and Motor City Machine Guns for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. A podcast that also features exclusive ringside memories from SoCal Val, who was there for the infamous Jeff Hardy heel turn when he formed a new stable with Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Jeff Jarrett, and Abyss. A podcast you can listen to by becoming a $5 backer on Patreon at patreon.com/WrestleTalk, which will also give you access to over 20 other classic pay-per-view reviews, including WrestleMania X7, NXT, Brooklyn 1, ECW One Night Stand, and more. But you know what? We're better than that, so we're not going to take that easy setup for such a cheap plug. Click the link that's in the video description down below to back us now. Impact will be hoping their Bound for Glory show will bring in some decent numbers for their Access debut tomorrow night, and a ratings bump is something WWE are also in need of. Last week, it was reported that Raw had a pretty bad night on Monday, drawing 2.28 million viewers for a draft show, which is bad when you consider the 2018 Superstar Shakeup did 3.62 million. And this episode saw over 500,000 viewers tune out before the heavily promoted main event angle of Seth Rollins burning down Firefly Funhouse. And it sadly didn't get any better when the ratings came in for SmackDown on Fox. Now, for context, it was reported last year that Fox were expecting WWE to draw over 3 million viewers for SmackDown every week, with a 1.0 share of the 18 to 49 demographic. And while they achieved that for the first show, which had The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Cain Velasquez, and Tyson Fury, the show dropped in its second week and dropped even further in its third week, down another 16% to 2.441 million viewers and a 0.75 in the 18 to 49 demographic. That means that SmackDown has lost 1.5 million viewers since its debut show on Fox 3 weeks ago. And that number is only slightly more than what Raw did on USA Network last week, and not that far off what SmackDown was doing before its Fox move. One positive to take away from the ratings, however, is that the show did see an increase in viewership over the 2 hours for the main event of Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin equals ratings. It was reported that if Fox were unhappy with the ratings that SmackDown was drawing, it could be moved to FS1. And SmackDown will air on FS1 this this Friday, but that is due to Game 3 of the World Series airing on Fox Sports instead. But it will be interesting to see what sort of ratings SmackDown does on FS1. But what did you think of the show? Pete thought it was a SmackDowner, and 29% of you agreed, with 50% thinking it was slightly better, with smack bang in the middle. Someone who might not overly care about the ratings, however, is Randy Orton. It's been reported for some time now that Orton is unhappy in WWE and could be looking for other options when his contract expires next year. It's also been heavily reported that the Revival were among the names who asked for their release earlier this year following the announcement of All Elite Wrestling, which included Shawn Spears, Kenta, and Luke Harper. And it's been reported the Revival have only won the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships this year as a way to appease them to get them to sign new contracts with WWE, something they've reportedly not done. So yeah, there's been some speculation station action happening all throughout 2019 about some of these big WWE names jumping ship to AEW. And as if to try and throw more fuel on this speculation fire, Randy Orton posted a picture of himself on Instagram next to a sign that says Elite Level with the caption TikTok, tagging the Revival, Luke Harper, Elias, Riddick Moss, AEW EVP Cody Rhodes, and AEW Champion Chris Jericho. Randy Orton, Revival, Elias, and Riddick Moss to AEW confirmed. It's an interesting move by Orton to tease a jump to All Elite Wrestling with all these stories floating around the internet, not to mention WWE's aggressiveness this year in signing their talents to new 5-year deals. And is even more interesting when you consider that Luke Harper is seemingly doing everything he can to get fired given his Twitter action as of late. And while we've heard stories about Orton, Revival, and Harper's unhappiness in WWE, this is the first time Elias and Moss's names have been brought up. We truly are in a wrestling war. Seemingly having fun with all of this, Chris Jericho replied to Orton on Instagram saying, "Send in a tape and some pics, and I'll see what I can do." Which WWE star got another new nickname on SmackDown this week? Check out Pete's review of the show by clicking the video on screen right now, and check out Screenstalker, where all this week Laurie and Simon will be playing Glitch Fest WWE 2K20. I've been Luke Owen, and that's Mecha Wrestling.